and today, the 19th of March, we have crossed the midway of March in 2023. How time flies! And today we will be discussing something which we will be talking about in short time. It's called Who You Are Really. Who you are really primarily is on the personality traits of a person, what makes a human being. So there is a lot of research in that. I will be sharing the research studies and then we will be taking it forward. But before that, request all of you to have your hands folded in silence, with reverence, express our gratitude to Mother Universe, to the Supreme Power. Thank you. Before we start our discussion, we'll relax our mind and body. And for that, I've got a soothing music for all of you, which I will be sharing. And let me know once you can listen to that. Can you hear the music?
Yeah.
Okay. So first, I would request all of you to take a deep breath. Another deep breath with the exhalations being a little longer. Be aware of your entire body. Listen to the music as a micro hit. And now, drop your shoulders, relax your waist. Sit in a straight position with your spinal cord straight, head neck straight. Relax your head, your forehead, eyes and muscles around your eyes, your cheeks, your lips. Let the relaxation flow to your chest and to your hands. I wish to move your fingers a bit. Ensure your shoulders are absolutely relaxed. Now focus on your stomach. Your stomach is moving up and down with every breath. And as you focus on your stomach, your breathing slows down. Relax on your abdomen, on your waist, hips, thighs, knees, calf muscles, shin bone. Feel the ankles and heels getting relaxed. The top of your feet, the sole of your feet getting relaxed. Relax your toes. Once again, be aware of your entire body as your front part of the body is relaxed now. Focus at the back of your shoulders. Relax the back of your shoulders and then the relaxation will go to the top of your hips. If your waist is stiff, relax it once again. Be aware of any particular pains, tightness, sensations that are there around the muscles of your spinal cord. And relax. Take another deep breath. Wonderful. Be aware of your entire body once more. And now, gently open your eyes as I stop the music and stop sharing. Be aware of your external environment. Be aware of the external sounds. And return to awareness. Wonderful. Okay. So good morning to all of you once again. And as we now get into the session, I'm extremely sorry, but the presentation which I had made, I can do it without, we can discuss it without the presentation also. However, it would have been better if I had the presentation. I did a lot of hard work yesterday in getting it done, but somehow uh, probably it's missing somewhere. So anyways, the purpose of the discussion today is primarily to understand what what are the personality traits that we have as human beings, what makes us who we are. So that is the discussion. And there are certain research findings which I will be sharing. But before that, if I can open the discussion to all of you as to what you think, as to what you think, who we are really, who we are really, what are we made of, if we can discuss that. So what makes us? What makes us? Any thoughts around that?
So, Partha, if we go the Vedantic way, right?
Yeah.
So, if you say,
Sorry.
if we have to look at our definition of who I am, right? So, it says that, I am not the mind, I am not the body, I am the pure consciousness, the Atman, okay, the Chetana, right? So, which is like Chetana is born, it is continuously getting built over the experiences of life. So, and it starts from the mother's womb. So, 7 years down the mother's womb, our main subconscious gets built. And over that, we are working on our consciousness, right? So, that is what comes to my mind when you say that, who am I? if that can lead the discussion in any way.
Yeah, sure. So thank you, Devashish. Anyone, I mean, Deepak ji, Sneha ji.
I I immediately remembered Aham Brahmasmi, one thing.
Mhm.
Uh, Second thing, our circumstances, our relations, our thought processes, संस्कार जो हमारे ऊपर होते हैं, इन सबका और बहुत सारे फैक्टर्स है, इन सबका लेखा जोखा, इन सबका मेलजोल बन के हम बनते हैं.
Okay, okay, Deepak bhai. Any other thoughts? So I think Devashish and Deepak ji has summarized it very well. So Sneha ji, Shekhar, Kakuli madam, any thoughts around it? Because what we will do today is primarily discuss as to who we are really in order to find. What intrigued me, why I got attracted towards this topic is that earlier when we were discussing, when I was studying NLP, when we were in Shekhar and me, we were together in the happiness and mindfulness classes, right? So we did our happiness and mindfulness coach course together. And when we were doing it, there were a lot of questions around this, right? And that point of time itself, a lot of curiosity questions came into my mind. And then, of course, the practice that we do every day with Devashish, Kakuli madam, me, and some of you regularly join and the Sunday sessions, that intrigued me. So while I was studying, I found certain researches which were there. So just, while I was talking to you, I laid my hands on the PPT. So I will share that. So what Debashish just said is, that our who we are really is being made in the mother's womb, maybe 7 years from our birth also. Maybe even before that, maybe uh, when the sperms and eggs were joining and the life was born at that point of time. Maybe two generations back when our grandparents or their grandparents they were born, what we carried from them, that may be a part of us, traits of us. And then, as Deepak Bhai said, what we are acquiring while our journey is there, that is there. Snehaji, you wanted to say something. Sorry, I was talking. So please feel free to contribute.
Yes, actually means our journey or spiritual journey, we think that we are body. And when we think that we are a body, that all circumstances, happiness, sadness, it's occur. But if we will think that, yes, I am a powerful soul, or whatever my sadness or my worries, it is related with my physical health, or what my physical posture. But if I will think that I am a soul, दुखी क्यों होते हैं, तो कोई मुझे कुछ बोल देता है, कोई मुझे कुछ कह देता है, तो लेकिन अगर मैं ये स्टेट में रही कि आई एम अ पावरफुल सोल, so I will be a happy person, or you can say that we have to towards that journey, spiritual journey.
Okay, Snehaji, thank you. So, yes, Shekhar.
Yeah.
You wanted to share something, Shekhar?
Yeah, only that I also remembered when you took up this topic about one story that we had done during our training. Who am I? And that I am, as of now, the sum total of what people have said that I am. You call me Shekhar, so I am Shekhar. I forgot the name, Kurt something. He had, I'm born in a place called Chennai. Why am I born in Chennai? Because people call that place Chennai.
Right.
At the end of it, I think uh, someone had mentioned that we are pure consciousness. That is what, at the spiritual end of it, we all are. We are just consciousness who have taken, who are on this plane now. Uh, when our times come, we will go to another plane, another sphere. But that's a different topic and different way of looking at things. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Shekhar. So, thank you everyone for your contribution. So, who we are really, I will refer this book to you, who we are uh, really, this particular, who are you really? So, I have just changed it to who you are, who are you really, by Brian Little. So, and there have been a lot of studies, but Brian Little has done a lot of, I mean, his studies are quite intense. And in this small book, he has covered the entire thing. So, whatever I'm talking today is from Who Are You Really? And of course, there are some excerpts from certain things. And what intrigues me is the research of Sonia Lyubomirsky in happiness, in the sphere of happiness, and Brian Little in the sphere of personality traits is so similar, is so similar. So in the happiness, in the case of happiness, we understood that, what contributes to our happiness is 50% genetic, 40% is our activities, intentional activities, and 10% circumstances. And now I will be sharing this screen with you where if you see this, I'll just make it on the slideshow. Yeah. So if you see this, you will see that there are two factors. One is the biogenic factor, which is there. Biogenic is what uh, Devashish and Deepak just mentioned, that the mother's womb, that what we carry from the genetics, the biogenic part of it. And the second is the sociogenic part of it. Now, what is sociogenic part? Sociogenic part is again, which Deepakji just now mentioned, that, how we are brought around, how we are, our circumstances, how we are growing, what is happening around us. So that part. And if you see, these two factors are primarily there for helping us to flourish or to flounder. Now, what is flourishing? There are two ends of a spectrum. There are two ends of a spectrum. Either I'm very happy, so I find that everything is happy around me, everyone is talking good about me, everything is talking, everything that is happening is very helpful for me. And at the other end is floundering, where we primarily find that everyone is talking ill of us, nothing is good, nothing good is happening to us, right? So there are the two ends of the spectrum. One is flourishing and one is floundering. And we travel in between these two. It's very contextual. We travel this between these two. So two factors are there, biogenic and sociogenic. We carry some traits from the genetics, from our parents, from our grandparents and others, and we are a part. And then when we start growing up from our childhood, as Debashish said, that till 7 years, even after 7 years, we acquire certain characteristics, certain friends influence us, certain mentors influence us, our brothers and sisters whom we like, they influence us, our leaders influence us. So that influencing carries on till the end of life, and that is sociogenic factor. Now, biogenic and sociogenic factors are all that we know. However, you would be knowing about MBTI, Myers and Briggs, right? Myers and Briggs, they had found that there is a combination of the personality traits that happens. So as far as biogenic is concerned, the genetic factors are concerned, what they have found is there are 5 big traits, the big 5 traits that the researchers have found out. Now, the big 5 traits I will discuss, but before that, do you think that what we discuss now, the biogenic and sociogenic factors, they are the factors which makes us, or there can be something else? There can be something
So,
else.
so Partho, I mean, I would say grossly it is sociogenic, but there is a geographical element also in the sense that you know the your character based on your ethnicity and other things, right?
Yes, yes.
So I don't know whether we'd call it biogenic or
So
sociogenic.
it is sociogenic and biogenic both.
Yeah, it is kind of both,
Both.
and it's also dependent on the nature. I mean, where you are born, right? The nature's this thing. Like if you are in a city, or if you are born in a village or in a countryside or near the nature, very far away in an artificial environment. So that also kind of creates your mindset or yourself. So it's not social. Social is about living with the biosphere. Okay. And this is, I mean, social is not with the biosphere. It is typically with the living beings,
Mhm.
right? The impact of living beings on you. And so I'm saying even the non-living state of things, this planet has an influence. So whatever we call it.
Yes, yes, certainly. So we
Yeah.
find that, say, for example, we are in India and
Mm.
maybe you move on to another continent. So then the children and their children, they will acquire some traits, certain habits, certain cultures
Right.
of that particular place. And although there is a biogenic factor, the sociogenic factor also plays a major role. However,
Right.
the
Hmm.
some of the traits that he has carried from his grandparents and his grandparents, that will also remain, right?
Sure.
So if you see in a lot of places, I remember a very unique thing I just wanted to share, Devashish. I just remembered while you were talking about it, and we are talking about it. So while the World Cup football in Qatar was going on, there was certainly a
Right.
documentary on a Portuguese colony in West Bengal. Now
I
this,
know.
yes, so this
I know. I know.
Portuguese colony
Mhm.
in West Bengal, these Portuguese families were brought in primarily to fight the, we used to call them Borgi, right?
Right.
Borgis are types of dacoits, if I can simplify it and tell you. So to fight them, these Portuguese families were brought there some 100 years back. And
Right.
since then, they have stayed there. What has now happened is their names are Portuguese, but now they speak Bengali, they have adopted Bengali culture. They
Right.
might have Portuguese roots in Portugal. Many of them have never been there, and now they have become Indian, they have become Bengalis, they have become a part of the Indian culture, of the local culture. Now that's a very, very unique example uh, of what you just mentioned, that the climate, the biosphere, the people, the culture also affects the personality traits. If you see, there are a lot of Indians who had gone and stayed in West Indies and South Africa. And you could remember many of the cricketers' names who had Indian origin. Alvin Kalicharan is one of the names, right?
Right.
And he moved from India, stayed in West Indies, and he became a West Indies. I think he captained also the West Indies team. Now that's
Yeah.
a again an example, a live example of how cultures, sociogenic factors affect us. Okay, so biogenic and sociogenic. While we will discuss it, my point was, are they the factors, or there could be many factors? I'll come to that. Before that, I will get into something around the biogenic where Brian Little, he, pointed this out. It's not moving. So I have to stop sharing, go back here, change it, and then come. Okay. Sometimes technical glitches actually help us to increase our patience, and thankful to the technical glitches. So this is something he found. These are called the big five, the big five. Every one of us will understand this, I suppose. So the first one is open to experience versus close to experience. You know people who are daring, who like to experience in the laboratory and in the life and in life, right? Versus people who are close to experience, right? Conscientious versus very casual. Conscientious people are always very particular, they're very disciplined, they come on time, and then we have casual people. The second is the extroverted versus the introverted. You know people who are extroverted, who jump into any social parties, they are the first to talk, they're very, very absolutely. So I'll give an example. Say, for example, I was seeing this, there's a documentary, I don't remember, where there is a guy who comes in and say the name of the person is Joginder. The first instance, maybe the second instance, he starts calling him Jogi, and then Jogs, and then whatever, I don't know. Oh, I did not. So Shekhar, not for you. Huh? This is, if you're there, it's not for you. However, oh, you are dropped. So Joginder becomes Jogi immediately. Whereas the introverted person, he will not be that abrupt. He will take time and he will wait for it, and he will call him Joginder. Maybe they will go for a cup of tea. They will be silent. He will be very courteous. So that kind of. There is another trait which is called agreeable and disagreeable. Have you seen agreeable people and disagreeable people? Agreeable people are those people where there are less conflicts, and there are disagreeable people where there are more conflicts. Maybe they disagree, but however, it's not bad or good, right? There are, so maybe the bracketed ones, it might be we might be thinking that they are negative traits. They're not negative traits. Every person, every trait, they contribute to the well-being of the society. And also, these behaviors are the primary. So open to experience and close to experience again are the two ends of the spectrum, but we are somewhere in between. So we are casual, and it's very contextual. We might be open to experience in the laboratory, but that same scientist might not be open to experience in his life. So it's very contextual. However, predominantly, a profession also helps in builds the character of a person. And the first one is being neurotic versus being stable. So the neurotic person, it is not, it might be sounding a little harsh on, whether he is a mad person or no, he's not mad. He does not do abnormal behavior. It is just that he is very fidgetive, is not stable. Now, open to experience, conscientious, extroverted, agreeable, neuroticism versus closed, casual, introverted, disagreeable, and stable. These are two ends. They are the two ends of the spectrum. And as again I mentioned, we can move from either of these, right? Say, for example, I'm generally extrovert in my house, but when I go out, I will look like an introvert person. I might be very, very casual at home, but in office, I might be very conscientious. I might be very particular about the work that I do. I might be agreeable at certain places, disagreeable in certain societies. I might be very stable everywhere, but when I go to my friends, I meet my friends, I am neurotic because that I was during my childhood, and that is what I remain with them, right? So these are biogenic. Now, if I tell you a statement, now this statement is that it is impossible to lick the outside of one's own elbow. It is impossible to lick the outside of one's own elbow. You will immediately think of it, right? There might be some people who even might be trying it. And Brian says that the extroverted people, might in their excitement lick the other person's elbow, right? So these are 5 big traits which are there. Now, if I may again repeat that there is nothing right, nothing wrong about it, and these are not the only traits, these are the 5 big traits. Now, while these are 5 big traits, there are smaller traits also which might contribute to the personality. Any thoughts around this? Do you, and this can be a permutation combination. So a person can be open to experience, casual, extrovert, disagreeable, and stable. Another person could be open to experience, introvert, agreeable, neurotic. Although this is very, very uncommon, but the person can be. So while I stop sharing, if you want to go through it once again, it's okay. Or otherwise, I'll stop sharing. And is there any thought around this? Can we? So sociogenic we discussed. This is biogenic. There is something else which I will be discussing with you in a short time from now. But is there any thought around it? And again, I will share the name of the book. It's a very interesting book. Who Are You Really? The surprising puzzle of personality. So I decided that, while there are a lot of books which we read, every book, right? There are a lot of researched books. There are certain novels, fictions, there are certain findings, there are certain compilations, and there are certain very basic books which are researched books. So this is a research book, and you can go through it, and then you can read a lot of other articles on personality traits, and we can find out. But this is a very, very basic research book which can give us some light, in light of course, Debashish might find it valuable, or because he is a person who studies Vedanta, who studies Gita, and from the learnings he might relate to this. Deepak ji, you can relate to from the learnings that you have, Sneha ji, in a different way, and Kakuli madam in a different way. So any thoughts? Yes, Devashish, sorry.
Yeah, Partha. So I felt you said about firstly that, are there any other smaller traits besides this? So I was thinking there may be something like I was thinking about a couple of traits which are like, I have found some people being highly optimistic and some people being generally pessimistic, right? I found certain people being highly practical. There are other people who are impractical. I have seen people who are generally genetically designed for spiritual mind. There are others who are non-spiritual, who are worldly in nature, right? Who go the consummation path. So could be somehow, okay, he doesn't come to understand that, these pleasures are only temporary. Okay. These are merely pleasures. These are not happiness factors. So these are 3 things. And the other realization from this discussion is like, um, such discussions do help in self-realization, because that is one of the most important thing. Are you aware of yourself? Firstly, do you know what you are? And then only you can amend yourself to the path of higher happiness, you call it, or salvation, okay, or God realization, whatever. So then only the life will be worth more. So basically, we cannot change the traits merely, but we have to understand, right, which of these traits are affecting the other side of the world. Because when you are what you are, so your conscience and subconscious play different roles. So you may be thinking conscience is the rational mind, right? It always is working scientifically, it always is giving solutions, it is reacting and all that. But subconsciously, we do so many things which may or may not be good, right? So this may help us in correctional efforts, and hence you do deep probing. If somebody is guiding us in the mechanism through which you understand what you are, then it will really help us in our self-realization path. I would like to read that book. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Devashish. And also very interesting. I'll come to the, so apart from these two, there is a third factor which you just brought, that whether we can change that or not. I'll just come to the third factor, which we will discuss in the next session. And the one that you said, yes, there is a questionnaire. There is a questionnaire which helps us to find which of these 5 traits are dominant in us. Which of these 5 traits are dominant in us? And can we change? We will discuss that. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. Deepak ji, you wanted to share something?
Uh, Not that much really, because what I want to say that already Devashish has mentioned well, but I will add one more thing, that let us not stamp by peculiar characteristic on our head or somebody's head. So let us think twice, thrice to say something about anybody or myself or itself. I can add this thing only.
Yes. Don't put a person in pigeonholes, because
Yeah.
pigeons also don't belong to pigeonholes.
Right.
So I would like to say something.
Yes, madam. Please, madam.
Like I was very introvert in my childhood days. Okay. But later on in my college days, and I used to work in a company, during that time I became very extrovert. Okay. And I changed myself. I am very extrovert in a very close group, in my known group. Okay. But when I am into a different place or to an unknown group, I keep myself very quiet. I'm very introvert. I try to observe. I try to listen to other people, what we are saying. Similarly, I was I was not religious at all in my earlier days. Now slowly, with age, I'm changing myself. So it depends. So with age, circumstances, environment, I think it all, matters.
Yes. And if you see, you mentioned a very interesting thing, that it is contextual, right? It is very contextual. So when you say this person is like this, immediately I would like to ask in what context. So when you say Kakuli madam is very introvert, okay, where did you see her being introvert? So in a place where it is an unknown place for her, where she does not know the people, she is generally introvert. Maybe she is watching them. She wants to be more acquainted with these people. She wants to know them better. And then she wants to open up. Also, this is a survival mechanism. This is a survival mechanism. That's how we survive. And when Kakuli madam goes to a place where she knows friends, where she knows place, she is amongst relatives, she is amongst her children, childhood friends, she is more extrovert, and she starts talking, she starts laughing. She might be pulling legs of people's also, right? So that's a different Kakuli madam. So contextually we change. And what Deepak bhai just mentioned is, we should not stamp label. No, never. We should never label, because we should not put them in pigeonholes, and pigeons are also they do not belong to pigeonholes, right? Very important. So thank you, Kakuli madam, for that sharing. And if I may just share with you another point which might be adding to what all of you just said, is this. It's a very interesting slide. If you see sociogenic and biogenic only if they were the 2 factors, we would basically say that probably there are very passive things. They would have made us very passive, which Deepak ji just said, that people can change, right? People might change consciously, which Devashish just now mentioned, which Kakuli madam gave an example, which Sneha ji also added, that, we evolve. So if we only take sociogenic and biogenic factors, and they would have been the only thing, they are very, very passive. Are we passive? Don't we change? Can't we change? If that is the question, this brings us to the, so there must be a third factor which is there, right? And this is what which is there. So along with the second, the biogenic and sociogenic, there's a third factor which is called the idiogenic factor. What is idiogenic factor? Idiogenic factor primarily is who you are unique, what is unique to you, which makes us the other people love you, dislike you, get angry on you, have empathy on you. What is that you are which makes us the outer world know you as, or what is that behavior that you're looking into? That's the idiogenic. Idiogenic primarily means your personal pursuits. What personal, and here Brand describes this as personal projects. Very unconscious, very unconscious. When Debashish reads a book on Vedanta and he shares it with us, when Snehaji goes for the morning yoga classes, when Kakuli madam writes a small line whether we are having the session today or not, when Deepak ji goes to the engineering colleges and the other colleges to teach, there is something more than the biogenic and sociogenic. There is something which is going on in their mind which is making them do this. An example, if you are walking, if you are just walking, right? If you are just walking, people see you as walking. While walking, you might walk after a hard day's work and for relaxation. You might believe that walking gives you more space in life, and that's why you are walking. You might be walking because you believe that by walking you can shed calories, and that's what will make you feel fit. You might be walking just to visit a friend's house somewhere at a distance, and you want to walk and visit that place. So what makes you walk is something which is absolutely unique to you at that moment, and that is idiogenic. That is idiogenic. Everyone has a personal project. We might be aware of it, we might not be aware of it. And this personal project, which we will discuss in the next class in details with the questionnaire of who are you really, that will lead us. But yes, biogenic and sociogenic, that is passive, and while they are unawarely in us, idiogenic is something which might be unconscious at the subconscious level, but we are doing that consciously to achieve a particular result. Why are we coming here on Sunday 8 a.m. instead of sleeping for 1 hour more? That is particularly unique to us. Many of us are aware that 5:30, getting 5:30, going for a walk gives us more time. Robin Sharma's book, 5 a.m. Club. After reading the book, some of us get excited and start getting at a 5 a.m., get encouraged, inspired, and get 5 a.m. Some of us don't. Actually, if you see, those who are doing it and those who are not doing it separately have their own personal projects. And these personal projects, these idiosyncratic behaviors, that is what also contribute in the duality of flourishing or floundering, which we will discuss. But coming to duality, I'll just take 3 minutes about duality. So world is everything is a non-binary. There is nothing called binary. It is, while there is day and there is night, there is 12 a.m. and 12 p.m. There is also 2 a.m. and 2 p.m. There is also 4 a.m. and 4 p.m. There is also 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. So what Deepak Bhai just now mentioned, that don't label. Because if we are labeling a person, we are labeling him at that particular, from that particular point, at that particular context, in relation to a particular person, probably. And it's very, very contextual. The moment we put them in a pigeonhole, we ourselves getting into a pigeonhole where we are a pigeon and nothing else. So with this, I will open it again for your comments. And since this needs a good 30-40 minutes discussion, and there will be a questionnaire which I will be sharing with you on that day. So if there is any thought on this third aspect of personal pursuits, and if you remember, those who attended the happiness, the 5 parts of it, the 50, 40, 10, the 40% is the intentional activity. Where it says intentional activity, here it's a little different in saying that personal projects might be at the subconscious level. Say, for example, when someone learns music, he learns music because he likes it, or he might be learning music because he dislikes it. His parents have told him, or her parents have told him to learn it. However, he finds an interest in it and builds himself as a musician. What is the personal project for him? That is very important. And also, personal project, there is a definition for personal project, which again I will share it in the next session. It's a very, very interesting thing which carries. So till now we were thinking sociogenic and biogenic. If you see, both are passive. There is something, the third element, which is put in now, the personal projects, which is very, very active. Unaware or aware, they're active. Oh, yes, Devashish.
Yeah, so there were very interesting things come out. Like, you said about music. So there was a quote that I was reading, is that a person who doesn't have music in him is mostly they are mostly criminal minded. I mean, a criminal, uh, a musical person apparently cannot be criminal, right? So it's a typical case of pigeonholing. Okay, it's a typical case of branding a person. It should not be. That's what one of the learnings I get from here. And the second is about uh, you know so you accept a person whatever he is. So we talked about acceptance. We had a session about acceptance. So that comes out clearly that acceptance is the biggest trait, okay, of whoever he is, whoever I am. Accept it as they are, because God has given as much variety in this world. Okay, so it's about unity within diversity, and everybody is required. Which brings me to another subject, is that, like, the function of the whole brain, the 4 quartiles, right? So the blue, the green, the yellow, and the red. All zones are important for a managerial success. So as you said this, that all the traits probably are required for this world to be running. If one was not there, the world would have slanted the other way. So which is the balance of nature, very naturally created by God, right? It's only that, as you said, nothing is good or bad. So we'll have to balance it out. So it's about self-awareness, it's about self-learning and being a good human being and having acceptance, so that less of conflict in this world. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely, Devashish. And absolutely. So when we talk of neurotic is a trait. Agreeable is a trait. It is not good or bad. And like Krishna and Radha, there are dualities, right? There are dualities. If you really see, Krishna is the masculine picture, the image of Radha. Radha is the feminine roop of Krishna. So, and if you see, it's a metaphor. It's a metaphor. So, and when I say he's agreeable, he might be agreeable in that context, in that particular situation with that particular person. So there are 3 things which are there. Neurotic person, neurotic seems, arey, pagal hai. No, he's not a pagal. Neurotic persons are the persons who actually help you to find the predators. The stable person will like he might find the prey. A mixture of neuroticism and stability might be required in a person. More of neuroticism might be there in certain persons, more of stability might be there in certain person. More of disagreeable. If a person is disagreeable, just think of the opportunities that we have in the team. If there is a team and there is a person who is disagreeable, just see the opportunities, the thinking, or the amount of thinking that you have to do to find out logic to make him agreeable, and how much that helps the team or you maybe in developing yourself. So when I said that no one can lick the outside of his own elbow, there are people who attempt to do it. There are people who will not attempt to do it. The people who will laugh at it, the people who will, move away from it. So the 5 traits are the big 5 traits. MBTI has much more traits, I think 27 or 28, I'm not very sure. A lot of permutations and combinations. In the next session, we will be doing that questionnaire. In the meantime, I have shared the name of the book. It's, again, I will repeat, Who Are You Really by Brian Little. And whatever I have shared today is from that particular book. And while I am collecting a lot of articles on personality traits, in the next session, I would invite all of you, those who are present. Deepak, good morning. Nice to have you. So you can add your Deepak Bhai. There is another Deepak there, Deepak Bhattacharya.
Make him that.
साहेब ते चांगले आहे साहेब. हा दीपक साहेब.
हॅलो.
हा दीपक साहेब कसा काय चांगला आहे का?
मस्त 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 एकदम भालो अच्छे.
Okay.
So nice. So you can add value to it. And so this is one thing. Also, there is one presupposition that we learn in NLP, very interesting, is that at any particular point, a person, when he behaves, we need to remember that that is the best choice for that person in that particular situation. Otherwise, he would not have behaved in that way. So when we see a person uses a slang and we get angry on the language that he uses, we need to understand at that point of time, that is his best choice. He does not have any other choice. Otherwise, he would have not used that slang. So I think that would make other people more acceptable, not asking you to accept the slang, but to understand that that person at that point of time, that's the best choice he can make. Okay. So with that, thank you, everyone. And we will again join in next Sunday, same time, at 8 a.m. Until then, have a very nice week. And as usual, we have this morning sessions at 7:15. You can join us. Om Shanti. Let today be the happiest week. And Deepak Bhattacharya, Deepak Bhai, thank you for joining.
Thank you. Yes, I have missed the opportunity. I'll try and join on every.
No, sure. You're most welcome.
Okay.
It is nice to have you.
Fine. Yeah. Okay.